Rick and Morty is a show that dives deep into some complex themes over its 7 season run. As viewers, we constantly find ourselves swinging between rooting for the characters and hoping they'll finally learn from their self-sabotaging behavior. Empathy is a theme the show deals with in an interesting way, as it's either the backbone of moral decisions or completely disregarded, complicating the plots even further. Morty often steps into the role of the voice of empathetic reasoning. Even when faced with danger, it keeps him from jumping straight to violence, unless, of course, the situation is dire enough, and this often puts him at odds with Rick.
Morty, cover me!
Oh man, I don't want to shoot nobody.
They're just robots, Morty! It's okay to shoot them, they're robots!
Shut up!
Glenn's bleeding to death! Someone call his wife and children!
They're not robots, Rick!
It's a figure of speech, Morty! They're bureaucrats! I don't respect them! Just keep shooting, Morty!
His breakup with Planetina is another key moment. One of the reasons he decided to end their relationship was the widespread destruction she caused. Morty didn't know Planetina's victims personally, but he couldn't ignore the suffering they experienced at her hand. He couldn't justify their deaths, even though she felt it was the right thing to do to save the planet from ecological disaster. Morty's decisions are heavily influenced by his empathy, which lead to some major internal conflict. He isn't perfect by any means, but could be seen as a kind of anti-hero, much like Rick. His empathy in certain contexts can be seen as a character flaw. Take Season 7, Episode 4, where Morty's attempts at ethical reasoning creates even more problems. Rick, on the other hand, doesn't exactly wear empathy on his sleeve. He often acts out of self-interest, almost always at the expense of others. In The Wedding Squanchers, his surrender to the Galactic Federation is a mix of arrogance and a rare drop of guilt. He understands the danger he poses to his family, and this moment of empathy clashes with his self-destructive tendencies. Rick, for the most part, avoids dealing with the repercussions of his lack of empathy. However, when faced with a moral dilemma, often with Morty echoing his own views of morality, he's forced to confront the complexity of other people's lives. One could argue that his plan to destroy the Galactic Federation is another example of his self-serving nature. But when he overhears his family discussing how negatively he impacts their lives, ironically as they defend him to Jerry, he temporarily abandons his escape plan, which shows a rare, albeit fleeting, acknowledgement of their feelings. His quest for vengeance has cost him much of his conscience, yet the show gradually reveals that the moments where he reconnects with his humanity often come through raw instances of loss and pain. These moments force him to see others as more than just a sentient, random amalgamation of matter, but as individuals with rich emotional lives. Even with the show's multiverse theory, where death is almost a non-issue thanks to clones and portal travel, there are times when Rick's moral compass shifts, often driven by empathy for other characters. In Rick Mansing the Stone, Summer channels her anger about her parents' divorce in a distinctly Rick-like fashion, through reckless behavior. By the end of the episode, she gains insight into her parents' relationship through her own 2-week version of a marriage. It's this ability to step into her parents' shoes that helps her process her emotions and, in a small way, understand the complexities of marriage. In the Rick Shank redemption, Summer shows a strong sense of loyalty to Rick, even though she's aware of the chaos and danger he brings into their lives. This is vividly portrayed when she digs up Rick's buried portal gun and travels with Morty to other dimensions as he tries to show her that he often leaves a trail of death and destruction behind him. As a part of the audience, you obviously want them to save Rick, but it does make you question whether he deserves to be saved. This kind of conflict worsens when you get the full backstory of why he is the way he is. You want him to get the revenge he's been seeking, but you also can't help but feel like you're making excuses for a shitty man who will push away any good that comes into his life. This back and forth is seen in the show quite often because it's difficult to navigate justified feelings of frustration, hurt, or anger, and the compassion we feel for someone we are so deeply trying to understand and empathize with. Dr. Wong, a recurring character, masterfully balances empathy and boundary setting in her sessions with Rick. As his therapist, she acknowledges the pain and trauma that drive his behavior, but refuses to let his genius excuse his actions. Dr. Wong's approach is characterized by an understanding of Rick's struggles, yet she firmly holds him accountable for his actions, emphasizing the need for personal responsibility and growth. Her unwavering stance demonstrates that true care involves not enabling destructive behavior, but guiding individuals towards healthier patterns. Bird Person, another key character, as well as a close friend of Rick, exemplifies this balance. One thing you come to appreciate about him is that, despite their long history, he confronts him when he crosses ethical lines and knows when to distance himself to set boundaries. He seems to understand the importance of protecting his own emotional well-being and doesn't shy away from calling Rick out when he needs to. While Rick values Bird Person's loyalty and insight, he in turn manages their relationship by balancing empathy with boundaries, which offers an interesting combination of camaraderie, honesty, and stability. In essence, Rick and Morty subtly delves into the concept of empathy by juxtaposing the cynical, self-centered worldview of Rick with moments of vulnerability and connection. His journey is a complex dance between intellectual detachment and reluctant acceptance of emotional responsibility. This not only enriches his character, but also offers meaningful commentary on the human condition. We all grapple with similar struggles, trying to balance self-interest with empathy and detachment with connection. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate the time you've taken to interact with my video. Please subscribe for more essays, and I'll catch you in the next one.